Hi, this is Sarah and James with The Full Life. Thanks for joining us today. We wanted to talk a little bit about generosity, in particular 10 ways that some people may use to not be generous in their life. And so we're just going to give you some of those top 10 reasons that we can think of, as well as we've seen in other people, that prevent us from being generous. So we'll just fire away, and if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments below and we'll try to answer. Okay?
All right, so I think that a better way, maybe even of thinking about them, or a different way of thinking about them, would be roadblocks
Yeah.
to generosity. And so the number one roadblock that we have either felt ourselves or had heard hear other people say is, I just don't have any money.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't have any money left over. And that seems to be probably, I would say, the top reason that people don't give, is they just don't feel like they have any money to give.
Yeah. And let me preface, these are not in any particular order. These are just 10 roadblocks, right? That there's not like a number one, like this
No.
is it.
Nope, I just think that that's the one I probably heard the most, but these aren't, the way we read them is not in order.
Yeah. The second reason is I don't have a lot of time. We all have very busy lives, and we have many obligations that we have to fulfill, and sometimes volunteering or helping with a cause, whether it's in your community or at church or in your family, you don't have any more time to give. So that's another roadblock that we see preventing generosity.
Another really big roadblock, and it's kind of negative, is just that people are self-focused, they're self-centered. A lot of times people don't want to give just because they don't want to give. I mean, they're too focused on themselves, running the rat race, making the money, living for the weekend. And when you're self-centered, the last thing you want to do is be generous with your time or your finances.
The next one is that we find that maybe no one has ever modeled generosity in your life or to you, or you've not experienced generosity, so then you really have no idea how it could possibly work in your life, and so you just don't have a pattern for it in particular of how to do it.
Something we found in our own lives, or something we've seen a lot of, is that not only has it not been modeled, it's been modeled negatively.
Yeah.
People have seen that they need to be stingy, they need to hold on to what's theirs, they need to build their empire, they need to be boss, and the last thing that they need to do is give people their money, because their money is going to give them power and prestige, and of their time as well, because they're too busy building their empire. They're too busy working for the weekend type of mentality. I know I've said that before, but it's, how many of us get caught up in that, where we're literally just working and working and working like, slaves just to make enough money to buy things that we don't really need. Another thing that we've noticed that's a roadblock to generosity, to genuine generosity, is that people give to get. And that's not generosity. If you're given to get something in return, you're obviously not being generous. You're using your money, you're using your time in order to leverage that against something you desire from maybe somebody else or from a cause. And we've seen that a lot, actually, is that, we all know that person that is, that you can't trust them for anything they're going to say, because you know that even if they give you a little bit, they're going to want to take a whole lot back.
It's very much like a selfish altruism. Like, altruism is you want to do something good for everyone, no matter how it affects you. Like, you just want to be altruistic. But this is more of a selfish one, where you're doing something to try to get something from someone, and that definitely hampers generosity. Another roadblock we have noticed is that it hasn't become a pattern for you, or a habit where you consistently give or be generous. It takes time to make it a habit, and if you're not doing that, it's not gonna become intuitive to you to be a generous person. So definitely not having it as a habit in your life will prevent you from being more generous.
Another roadblock to giving and to being generous is there's so many things out there to give your time, to give your money to. In fact, there's so many things that it becomes overwhelming, and when we become overwhelmed, we just give up. We don't want to have anything to do with it, and so we don't give at all.
Yeah. it definitely can paralyze you when there's so many, you see so many needs and there's so many things that take your attention, that you just, instead of giving, you just don't. Another roadblock is that you may feel like you already give. You have a job where you are in service or you help people. Maybe you're in healthcare or you're in education. Maybe you pay your taxes and hey, that's enough giving for you in a year. Um, so those can be roadblocks too. Your occupation or your tax bracket can be.
Another hindrance or roadblock to generosity is that we see a lot of people and we think we have this sometimes ourselves and we see people struggling with this, is that other people will give.
Mm.
Other people will give of their money, other people will give of their time. Some people are just naturally givers. They love to volunteer, they love to give of their finances to help causes, and we get trapped in that mindset of, there's a lot of people that's what they like to do, that's their gift in life, let them do it. It's not me. I don't like to give. I'm cautious about giving. So I'll let those people volunteer, I'll let those people give, but it's just not for me.
And the final tip is that, you just can't trust people or nonprofits or groups that are asking for donations, because we've all heard the horror stories of, people giving to these groups that, they steal your money, or the CEO takes a huge salary and is, flying around in their private jet, or they are fraudulent in some way, and so you just can't trust where you're placing your money, and that can be very scary. So then that prevents you from wanting to be generous as well.
Being a child of the 80s, the generation of greed, and I can particularly attest this. I mean, there were so many people ripping people off, and the famous religious people that were stealing everybody's money, the stock market issues, investment fraud. With all that in my mind, I understand why it's hard to give for those reasons and why it's a big stumbling block towards being generous.
We just wanted to share a few of the roadblocks that we see and we experience ourselves, in being generous with our time and our finances and with our talents. And we wanted just to present them to you. We'll probably do another follow-up video with this as far as 10 tips on how to be generous. If you're interested, follow along, please subscribe, and comment if you have any questions at all. And thanks for tuning in to The Full Life. Bye.